Okay, that's not working. Hi, people. It's Irene. How are you? So anyway, I received a phone call and an email, and it became a thought. So I'm just going to share a thought with you. The reason why people probably deal with housing and urban development more independent people is because if you look at people who let's say have employment and they don't have their job, then the process to get people out of your property is a little different than someone, say, who has Section 8. Okay, so a person who has Section 8, you can say, hey, you can find you another place. They're a little bit more freer than somebody who has to pay out of pocket because they have to work. Okay, so this is the reason why a lot of people who have chosen to go with housing and urban development opposed to, let's say, having somebody stay in their house or whatever and paying X amount of dollars and then not be able to afford it and be like, oh, okay, well, listen, we're not able to pay you, and you're like, okay, well, you have bills. What if that's your only source of income? Now, I have met some people who are older, though. They were older people, and they have more than one property. They had several properties. And this is the reason why so many employers I'm sorry, people who own property ask for people's information. Do you work? Where's your place of employment? How long you been working at wherever you've been working? That becomes important for somebody who has a property, okay? Now that's another thing too. If somebody vandalized your property, somebody's tear it up, how you have to replace all of that. You understand where I'm coming from? So that would be also inclusive to why the housing and urban development, because somewhere in there, there's a responsibility for the housing and urban development or the housing authority or whoever it is, to say, well, you know what, this should not go take place, and then they're responsible, or that they'll pay a portion of it, or whatever, however it goes. The process, even if there's somebody want to take you to civil court or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And you're like, okay, well, listen, you're missing back pay. Now that's something different because they pay X amount of dollars, and then from that X amount of dollars, the other portion of that has to be paid by the other person, right? Now, if the other person doesn't pay their portion of the rent, then can the owner go towards them to the yes, they can. Okay. But the options for somebody who has, let's say, the certificate, or the voucher is a little different than somebody who do not have a voucher at all. Okay. Matter of fact, those people, they have options. The homeowner doesn't have options outside of them choosing who they want to stay at their property. Okay. But hey, a lot of people are leaning on Airbnb, and I'm like, well, you know what? I ain't gonna fib to you. My thought about it is that if it was, like that, then that money would have been rolling in like that. You understand where I'm coming from? Like, people been like, oh, well, here it is. Whoop, 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 whoop. You understand? You wouldn't have to be out there trying to look for people to stay in your place, and then you have to make sure you have something that's very much aligned with the process, because you'll get some people who want to just stick around and you try to get rid of them, and you be like, no, 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 you can't do all of this. Then that's a whole other extra something. There goes that civil stuff again. You don't want to do all of that. It becomes too occupied. You busy, you got other things you're trying to do, and then you get all occupied with here that. Then that responsibility, you're right. Now you gotta think about everything else. Yes, honey, we need income, we need revenue, we need resources. It's the truth. Now, matter of fact, I was looking at my organization bylaws, and I was looking at it, and I think that initially when I had wrote it some years ago, it says something about homelessness, right? So even if you're looking at somebody who has, you try to supply a place for them and they're homeless. Well, there's a process and that you can go through and say and ask them and this, that, and the other, what kind of money, whatever, whatever, whatever. But then when you look at 4 or 5 people inside one property, 4 or 5 different people, and say, okay, well, listen, they'll give you X amount of dollars for this, that, and the other. Now, does it accumulate, or the calculation to, let's say, 1 or 2 people? Now you have to think about having a bed and this, that, and the other. It becomes too much. That's why I had chose to do it a little different for my efforts, and then let's say shareholders and stakeholders. We purchase a property, we know that we want to do good, and we work from there. Okay, not so much where it's just a direct thing, where we're just going to focus on people in that kind of situation. The reason why, because you don't have no program in the first thing on place. Well, you may have the program, but you don't have the property. So now there's just a thought. Now, when you have the property to do those kind of things, but if you're like, oh, well, here it is, we're trying to run you off of this one. We're trying to run you off of this one. We're trying to run you off of this one. And now you have to think about a whole nother process and program and thought to try to create something for somebody else while you're inconveniencing yourself. I've been inconvenienced. No, seriously, I've been inconvenienced. I don't like it. Shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, whatever the situation that goes hand in hand with why a person has to have insurance for their property. Okay, you gotta have car insurance, gotta have house insurance, you have property insurance. Some people they got it like that. They get insurance on their jewelry. You know what I mean? The only thing is with those documents, you can't replace them. No, that's not true. You can't replace it. You could get your birth, you could get vital records. Hmm. The point is that the reason why some people go to a more secure route is because they don't want to go through all the different shenanigans in the process of being outside of the realm to try to help negative. That means that more or less some people they're homeless because they're trying to have some income. I know all about it. That part. Okay, so just they generate income. Okay, they're homeless because they need to generate income for themselves, and so somebody else is occupying, let's say, a space, and yet they're homeless. Okay, so we can sit there and talk about traveling and this, that, and the other. Another, there's a homeless situation. Anyway, yeah, I mean, this is the reason why when we begin to think about all the different resources that are available to us, and we apply ourselves, and then we helping other people. There's a reason why we want to improve. Here it is, our livelihood, your individual self, and other people. And then those people who be like, oh, I'm just thinking about self. Well, I mean, hey, you got a lot of people who think just that. But even if when you're thinking about self, you're also thinking about other people. Other people are included with that. Oh, it's an introvert, it's an extrovert. Well, introvert, even if they're working on a computer, they're providing customer service. Let's just say they just stay at home all day. They still have to go to the supermarket, go get gas, pay their bills. So they're just not hermits just sitting at home all by themselves. You have some people who do homework from home and they doing all this other kind of stuff. Now them being at home and going through the process and yada yada yada. Well, they still doing customer service. They helping other people out with a phone call. Okay. All right, people. I mean, I just want to kind of share my little thought about HUD, not negatively. I know that there's been an effort been an effort at that thought to say, okay, well, yes, let's try to invest in more property. Okay, another thing too, people who own property, you will know that they own property because they will have a mortgage note. Those who don't have a mortgage note and own property, then they probably want to cash in. If they ain't trying to cash in, they're just living in it. Okay, I mean it's just the truth. Okay, but anyway, I'm gonna move on to another thought. The other thought is that we have you hear people talking about land and housing and stuff like that, and it's just sad because when you start to look at it, I know that there was just like a random thought. Oh, you this that. I was just like, well, honey, I ain't gonna fib to you. Say here it is with a homeless situation or homeless thought. Those people didn't care if I was um if I had or anything, or if they, no, for real. For employment.